Good evening, my name is Corey Hay, and tonight I'm privileged and proud to present one of America's great folk heroes. The man combined art and sex with great taste, and it's really great to be with Hugh Hefner.
Thank you.
One of America's great folk heroes. So, what brings you to New York specifically this time, I guess, is the show at the Cultural Center, which includes all the art that Playboy has commissioned during the past year.
Well, that's the secondary reason. The real reason is
BARBI show.
we just opened at the Playboy Club a week ago.
BARBI Benton, the beautiful, what kind of adjective shall I use to describe Barbie's position in your life?
Girlfriend. As a matter of fact, we just celebrated our 6th anniversary a couple nights ago, Wednesday night.
What keeps you from taking that final step of,
Well, we're in favor of romance. Romance and marriage aren't always, don't always go hand in hand. But, that may come eventually. Right now, she's busy in the launching of a new career, singing country and western, doing very well at it. And
besides, we've watched all our friends get married and divorced since we've been together. We've lasted longer than any of our friends, married or otherwise. So, we're very happy together.
Do you exclusively sing at the Playboy clubs?
No, I sing wherever anybody pays me the money that my manager asks for. And sometimes it's the Playboy Club. I try to do the Playboy Club whenever I'm in a city where there is one.
She worked at Palomino, which is the top country western place in Los Angeles, and the Hacienda in Las Vegas.
I'll be working the Hyatt House in Chicago, and the World's Fair with Merle Haggard in September.
The football game.
The football game in Atlanta, right?
She's going to be singing the Star Spangled Banner. That's right.
I noticed you're brushing up on the words a little before.
Well, nobody knows the second verse. Most people don't even know that there is one.
Well, we don't want a Robert Goulet here.
Exactly, I remember that, right. I'm going to be going to catch the act tonight, and would you describe what you're saying as country rock, sort of like you're a fan of Waylon Jennings?
Yes, right. Waylon Jennings is even more country than I am. I would say that if you're familiar with country western artists, I'm more like Linda Ronstadt or a newcomer named Olivia Newton-John. But I have my own style, and most of my songs are very original. They're written by a Playboy cartoonist named Shel Silverstein. And he wrote A Boy Named Sue and quite a few other songs that you might recognize, like Cover the Rolling Stone. He's very talented, and he does quite a bit of my material.
I assume you approve of her going out on her own and having a career, and you don't want her back in the mansion in the kitchen.
In the kitchen? She never was in the kitchen.
No, we have people to take care of that. I'm very proud of her.
Well, that's good. I was also proud of you yesterday when I asked you how you felt about the current political situation, and you sort of said that you were delighted. You wished it had happened 6 years sooner.
Yes, I think that, there was, mixed emotions in what the country has gone through, and a certain sadness in terms of what's happened, but I don't think that Nixon did very much for us. I think he was very good in some international moves that the country made, but I think he was a disaster for us domestically, and I think it's very important for the country to get back on the right track in terms of what supposedly Nixon was going to do, bring us together. That's what it ought to be all about, and of course what he really did was just split the country wide apart.
Last night I think we all had pretty much the feeling that he was asking us to sort of to forget it. Now he's quit, it's over. What do you feel? Do you feel that we should grant him amnesty the way he denied it to the Vietnam deserters, or do you think he should be pursued? What do you think the penalty should be demanded? Do you think he's suffered enough?
It's a very difficult question to answer. The thought of the previous president of the United States actually serving time in prison is a very sad and depressing one. At the same time, the basic concepts of America are that no man, including the president, is above the law. I mean, he wasn't the king, although sometimes it seemed as though he felt he was. We don't live in a monarchy. And it would be rather curious and sad to see. Well, but it would be also sad to see, or rather unfair to see, all of the men who worked for him, many of whom are guilty most of improperly placed loyalty to Nixon, serving prison sentences while he got off scot-free, and at the moment also is getting away with $60,000 a year salary for life, and
$96,000
and
$20,000 for Pat after he's gone.
yes. It seems like because after all, the man is a self-confessed felon.
I don't think they're going to repossess San Clemente, or they haven't brought it up yet.
No. I do think you ought to pay the taxes.
I thought he had paid the
He's in the
taxes.
process of settling the taxes here.
He also spoke of, taking on some sort of position and serving the country further. I wasn't quite sure what he alluded to in that manner in terms of, I guess, speaking and...
What we've seen so far would suggest that the more a private citizen he is, the better it will be for the country.
Do you think that do you have a lot of faith in President Ford? Are you looking forward to his?
No, I wouldn't say so. I'm an independent, but I would say that generally speaking, my feelings in terms of domestic policies are far more related to the Democrats and how they view the solution to some of our problems. And I think that the major problem with the Republican Party, I've become very involved both in the magazine and also with financial help in the last few years in the political arena, both national and local. And I do back some Republicans, but by and large, I really think that the Republican attitude that society just kind of takes care of itself is something I don't agree with. I think that we have a lot of serious problems in this country, and in poverty and racism and ecology and the rest, and I don't think these things take care of themselves. I think it requires a government posture.
Democrats themselves felt that Nixon leaving office was actually going to hinder them as far as 1976 goes. How do you feel about that, and who would you like to see running against? I would assume it'll be President Ford.
That's two questions. On the purely political level, there is some case to be made for the fact that having had the final culmination of Watergate, with the impeachment coming closer to the election, probably would have helped the Democrats, but I think it would probably hurt the country. There is a problem in terms of the fact that, from a Democratic point of view, that Ford will have a year and a half, as an incumbent, and if anything is apt to look pretty good after what we've been through. So if he just doesn't screw it up too much, he will have a pretty good position to work from. At this point, in terms of a Democratic candidate, I think probably Kennedy is the best bet, but there's still a year and a half to go, so somebody else may come along.
And Vice President, who do you think they're going to, Mr. Ford? Do you have any idea of who he'll choose?
No, I don't. Just watching the news, and Rockefeller has been put forward, but he's not very acceptable to the conservatives. They were suggesting today, the conservatives apparently had a caucus and were suggesting Goldwater. Laird is going to be a significant power. He's been talked about as possible vice president, but whether he takes that position or not, his long-term relationship with now President Ford would suggest that he will have a lot of importance in the picture, official or unofficial.
Have you any interest at all in entering politics in a more direct fashion, maybe making Barbie First Lady?
No interest, no.
Now, Hef has once mentioned that presidency is a step down from being Hugh Hefner.
No, I didn't say that, but Lord Saul said it once. No, I don't think that I would be able to or want to accept the kind of lifestyle that would go with
there's so much responsibility
running with office. But I am very concerned with the social problems, and therefore, in that sense, I'm very involved in the political process.
And at the same time, as a public figure and having a great deal of notoriety, there are bodyguards out front, and for security reasons, I had to tell them exactly how many people I was bringing, and I know that you travel with a lot of security. Have there been threats?
Oh, sure, there are from time to time, and the Hearst business here early in the year made us, additionally concerned about the immediate family and Barbie.
Your daughter, of course, as well, has constant protection.
Yeah. I mean, we live in a very troubled time, troubling times, troubling for people in the public eye and for the common citizen as well.
Is it true you're replacing all bunnies in the club over 20?
No, there is, as a matter of fact, no correlation between age and being a bunny at all. There is, however, something called bunny image. We do pick the girls on the basis of their attractiveness and their personality. And attractiveness does begin to change with age, so that's the only consideration.
Are there tenure problems, or how do you approach the retirement of a bunny? Does you see
about having a bunny farm for aged bunnies? We're trying to develop a system as the company grows for using other girls who begin as bunnies in other kinds of work, and we do have an increasing number of our floor directors and room directors in the clubs are women, in most cases ex-bunnies.
At this point in your life, would you say you had any unfulfilled dreams?
No major ones, no. Just very grateful for the first 20 years of Playboy success and looking forward to the next 20.
Would you ever, or will your daughter be appearing in Playboy? She's very beautiful and definitely meets the Playboy image of spectacular...
I'm sure she will be appearing in Playboy, but quite probably as a writer rather than as a model. But if she wanted to appear, I'd be happy to have her there.
Under any circumstances, would you yourself appear nude in your magazine?
It's conceivable. I just posed for we're doing a story on the Playboy Mansion in our January issue, and I was in a jacuzzi shooting here a few days ago, in which I was unadorned. I don't think that probably it'll all be hanging out, but I have nothing against it. I'm not quite in the shape that I was 20 years ago, but get along pretty good.
Besides your normal business activities, are there any sports you're fond of? What do you do to keep in shape?
Well, we have a tennis court on the grounds in L.A., and getting into tennis a little bit, and we play a little volleyball and croquet there. But I confess to being more of an indoor guy by nature and bent, so it's usually more apt to be a little arm practice, shaking the dice for backgammon. Yeah.
Monopoly with real money, I understand.
Monopoly, but not with real money. We have a very elaborate Monopoly set. So have to come together over a period of time to gifts and friends, etc., where we have money that has my image in place of George Washington, and the Playboy Mansion West on the back of it. There was a gift from a friend, and little pieces that are duplicates of the players, but not real money.
Did you always win?
At Monopoly?
At everything?
No. Nobody always wins at everything.
Do the girls do, Barbie, do you let him win sometimes, or is it kind of a...
I think there was a period when we were playing backgammon, when we were both learning how to play backgammon, where I think I was a little better, and he has a little bit of a temper, and if I would beat him too many times in a row, I did give in once. But he's much better than I am, so I don't ever have to do that anymore.
I have to say, in addition to that, that's completely inconsistent. One of the things that's very charming about Barbie is she's very competitive in games, but not in life.
I am very competitive. However, that you do have this thing about you that if I continue to beat you, like if we were playing tennis and I beat you every day, you wouldn't play with me anymore.
How do you know that? I think the trick is, first of all, to get to a point where you can beat me every day, then we'll see if I'll play every day.
You could change to mixed doubles and play in the same team.
Yes,
absolutely.
That's true. But if I'm not as good as you, you don't let me play.
That's true, you haven't been home.
You said you preferred oral or genital sex.
Do I prefer oral or genital sex? I think there's plenty of room for both. This is a very interesting TV show you have going here.
Are you distressed at all by the hero worshipping of the effete bisexual rock stars by the young?
No, not at all. I don't think that. I think it's all a part of a campy thing that's kind of fun. I seriously doubt that one's sexual predilections are rooted in that kind of thing. No, not at all. I think, as a matter of fact, we have in the past traditionally too many sexual hang-ups, and the problems in terms of bisexuality are among them.
Do you think it's a problem, or?
Do I think what's a problem?
Bisexuality. Do you think this is an advance, or?
I think it's a problem.
Decadence, or?
I don't think it's decadence. I think that we're all by nature bisexual. I think we have a lot of hang-ups in that area. We have hang-ups in all areas of sexuality.
Part of the whole women's liberation movement, of course, has involved a great deal of lesbian tendencies among some of the women who appear in the magazines. Would you depict that all in Playboy? Other magazines have depicted girls kissing and caressing in a very...
Playboy's been showing it a lot lately, too.
Yeah, sure, I don't have anything. You have to remember, among other things, that that lesbianism is and has all been throughout history a thing that is heterosexually erotic to the male, so there's never been any conflict there. In terms of the women's lib movement, I think the only part of lesbianism that's unfortunate is the part that's anti-male. I think you have to make a distinction between lesbianism and bisexuality. In other words, the compulsive homosexual, compulsive homosexuality, I think, is an emotional problem because it's psychologically the inability to really cope with psychologically and sexually, the opposite sex, and that's the sadness. But, so are the hang-ups that we have in terms of, greater sexual experimentation. So I think you have to make a distinction between compulsive homosexuality and bisexuality.
How do you feel yourself? Have you ever engaged in any kind of bisexual behavior?
No, but if I haven't, it's because that's the kind of society I've been raised in.
Makes sense. What about you, Barbie?
No, I haven't either. Doesn't mean to say that he wouldn't like me to be.
What?
No. No, I think that men generally have this fantasy that they would enjoy seeing another woman enjoy another woman. Men tend to like pictures of girls kissing each other. But I'm not into it. I noticed in New York that it seems to be very chic.
Bisexuality chic is a new phenomenon in New York.
I see girls walking around hand in hand, arm in arm, and kissing, with, it's not my bag, but I don't put it down.
And indeed, bisexuality in women has traditionally been less a problem for our society, than bisexuality in men. And again, that's, obviously just a cultural thing, and I'm afraid it's really rooted in the fact that, that over the centuries, women have had a very second-class kind of position, so what they didn't really make that much difference. It was kind of like the old ghetto concept of, whatever was happening in the black part of town or the poor part of town or Chinatown didn't really matter as long as it stayed there. The reason that traditionally, through the centuries, male homosexuality has been a far greater taboo than female homosexuality is because through the centuries, sadly, women have not been important.
How do you think we're ready for a vice president to be a woman, or indeed a president?
I think so.
I haven't heard it considered at all by the president before, but I think it might be a wise choice.
I don't think that he may be ready for it, but I do think that the country probably is.
Do you have...
He's done a pretty good job in Israel.
Indira Gandhi as well. How do you feel about groupies? You must have a lot of groupies around you.
He doesn't go out.
Sometimes the groupies come in. Well, I think that it depends. I think you have to consider any of these phenomena in terms of the individuals, and whether it's a rock star, film star, or whatever it is, a certain amount of adoration and fandom is charming if it becomes a way of life for the person, for the member of a groupie band. Then it can be kind of sad because it becomes kind of a compulsive thing with a limitation then in terms of them growing as their own individual people.
Do you enjoy being recognized?
Sure. I think man doesn't work for bread alone. Fame is one of the satisfactions of success.
And when people come up to you, of course, they must constantly come and accost you on the street. Indeed, does it become at all hindersome or cumbersome, or is it embarrassing, or do you feel a need to be polite and spend time? And
depends. My usual reaction is to accept it, as a part of that, as a part of my success and part of the fame. And indeed, if I had wanted to avoid the public image and the fame, that would have been relatively easy to do. I mean, there aren't that many people in my particular line of work that are that well known. And I'm always a little put off by, indeed, in some cases, some of my friends who are in show business, who obviously, since they were very young, wanted to become successful in show business, wanted to become, in many cases, stars, and then resent, or at least go through the motions of pretending to resent the kind of fandom and attention they get when they're in public. It can be bothersome sometimes, but when one is in that kind of a mood, it's a good idea to stay out of the public. And I spend far more time alone or with my immediate friends than I do out in public.
I understand the general practice of picking the Playboy playmates is the photographers submit pictures. Have you, over the years yourself, stopped a girl on the corner and discovered a Playboy playmate?
No, I never walked up to a girl on the street and suggested she become a playmate, though some of our photographers have.
How do you feel about the Playboy copyists?
Well, I think that, you know, if imitation is indeed the sincerest form of flattery, I'm the most sincerely flattered publisher of our time.
Are there suits pending?
There is a suit pending in the Playgirl, in the case of Playgirl, because of what we feel is a name confusion.
How do you feel about the rip-off of artists by publishers and public alike? It's something that, of course, Playboy, I want to applaud the fact they've always played top dollar for top talent, but we increasingly see it happen, especially in New York, where publishers and art galleries and so forth are increasingly taking advantage of the artists and denying them proper funding and advances, and indeed making it harder and harder for them to create and live.
Well, because I am primarily, from my background, a creative person, a person that was interested in writing and art, etc., rather than a business person, despite the business success, I'm very sympathetic with that problem, and indeed, because of the tradition with Esquire and some other magazines of not paying good money to writers over the years, I have very strong personal feelings about it, and vowed when Playboy began that if the magazine was successful, I was going to make it as successful as I could for the other people that contributed. So I have always tried to have Playboy pay top dollars for the material we use.
What do you feel the visual impact of the magazine has played in the development of the masses' tastes?
Well, because of the tremendous impact of the Playmate and the girls in the magazine, a lot of the other things that Playboy's done have been kind of lost in the shuffle, but I think that the graphic impact of the magazine, by that I mean the design and the artwork, probably has had more influence than certainly any other single magazine in America or in the world in the last generation. I think the magazine has had more influence on the appearance, the graphic appearance and design and art in magazines than any other magazine around.
I realize that our politics has a great deal to do with the magazine. Indeed, isn't it financially split down the middle?
How do you mean? Is that Paul partner?
Yes.
No, I own approximately 75% of stock. But Arthur does have a partner with my first employee, and he is very well off the day as a result of the association. He's independently wealthy.
BARBI, the magazine.
Well, I think that probably says more about our hang-ups related to masturbation than it does about Playboy. Masturbation is a perfectly healthy, stage of human sexuality, and if Playboy is added to the sexual fantasies of the nation and world, that's probably a pretty good thing.
Do you yourself masturbate?
Sure, on occasion.
What do you think the proper age for a person to start to read Playboy is?
Well, the magazine is purposely aimed at an adult audience because before Playboy, there was a great tendency to take the attitude that magazines ought to be suited for all members of the family, and what that meant was the lowest common denominator. In other words, that meant suitable for children. And when they talk about family magazines or general interest magazines, they were talking about magazines really edited down to that level. So I think there is a virtue in oneself as an adult book. But I also think that in the great majority of cases, assuming that the child is otherwise emotionally stable and healthy, that there's almost any age that would probably benefit from the magazine.
Okay. Talking about 16, 15, 14?
I'm saying that I don't think there's any age that would be, in other words, I don't think a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old would be hurt by the magazine. They'd be helped more than hurt. Because I think the magazine has essentially a healthy attitude towards sex life.
I definitely agree. But on this basis, don't you feel that really, why do you think exclusively an inch of 10? Hasn't it become more or less a magazine with something for everyone?
Well, I'm not sure it's got something for everyone, but without question, the magazine was called an entertainment book at the outset, and we continue to carry that line on the cover, but without question, the magazine now is a book not only of entertainment, but also edification and service.
How old are you now?
48.
We're not in color to see.
Think about that.
And BARBI, how old are you?
24.
I'm always distracted by the beautiful green of your eyes. I wish we were in color.
It all depends on what I'm wearing and where I am. Right now they're green because we're in a yellow room, but usually they're on a blue tone. But whatever usually match what I'm wearing. For you?
Mr. Hefner's eyes are brown. How tall are you?
5'11",
And how much do you weigh?
about 165.
How did you lose your virginity?
In the usual way, sexual intercourse.
Was she older or younger?
Was she older or younger? She's about the same age. I was in college.
Was it a pleasant experience?
Sure.
If you were pushed from your tower suite, what would flash across your mind on the way down?
I'm falling.
Have you consciously surrounded yourself with the best of everything as far as material things and people for security reasons?
I didn't quite understand that question. I understood it till you get to the security part. I have consciously surrounded myself with the things that please me. They're not always what other people consider to be the best of everything. But I've made life as pleasant and comfortable for myself as I was able.
What's your relationship with J. Paul Getty?
Well, he has been he was a contributing editor to the magazine for a number of years and wrote a series of articles for us. That's the extent of it.
Do you visit him when you go to England?
No, I have visited him a couple of times. I haven't seen him for about 3 years.
Do the two of you discuss your art collections?
No. I remember what we did discuss the last time we saw each other.
Is there indeed art that you purchase that does not appear in the magazine?
Oh, yes, sure. I have a very nice, small collection of contemporary art, most of it American. Franz Klein, de Kooning, Pollock.
Have you ever considered enclosing because of the 4-month deadline, a last-minute one-color black and white enclosure to keep the magazine more influential and immediate in the day of instant everything?
Well, we try to do that to the degree that we're able. The front section of the magazine, which is printed in a letterpress in the Playboy After Hours, which has the reviews and special sections, does have a later closing date. But it's impossible, of course, for a monthly magazine with its deadlines to compete in that sense with daily newspapers or a weekly magazine.
Are you planning any further innovative formats that indeed might shock the publishing world again? And if so, what kind of precautions do you take? Are there spies?
They're spies. Except for that last part of it,
Are you planning any new change in format that would shock the publishing world the way the original Playboy format did?
No, though we do have a number of other publishing ventures on the drawing board, that we're testing, and we don't have any immediate plans that I think is going to blow anybody's mind.
Are you at all concerned with the industrial secrets of your empire?
You mean keeping them secret? There really aren't too many industrial secrets in my business. I think what we're doing is pretty clear and obvious in the pages of the book every month.
Do you have a close rapport with your editors?
Yes, very good. Very good relationship with the editor.
Have you relinquished any power as far as Playboy goes?
Oh, yes, a lot. And it was one of the most difficult things for me because, it began as really a one-man operation and remains for me a very, close personal extension of myself and my views on life. So one of the most difficult things as the company grew, one of the most difficult things for me to learn really was the delegating of authority. But I've managed to do that in the last few years rather successfully.
What percentage of the content of the magazine and its artwork do you see before it hits the stands?
Relatively little now. We have a monthly meeting in which we go over the general contents of the forthcoming issues. Beyond that, very little.
What do you do day to day? What kind of day-to-day involvement do you have with the magazine?
Well, you see, the company now is a good deal more than just a magazine. In other words, we're into film and TV production, we're into records, we're into, of course, we have the clubs and hotels, we have a wide variety and spectrum of business operations, both in America and around the world. So my meetings are related to the various aspects of what we do. So I may go from, a cartoon meeting one afternoon to a financial meeting the next.
What does your daily day consist of? What time do you get up?
Usually starts in the afternoon.
2?
About 2 o'clock on the average.
And when you get up, do you have breakfast? Or?
No, not usually. I usually eat later in the day. One meal a day, usually late in the day.
Well, once you get up, what do you do?
Well, it depends. I check out whatever. The first thing I do is meet with my secretary and go over, the day's business in terms of any notes that I may have for her, any notes that she may have for me. And then if I have meetings, they're usually set for, I would say, usually around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. If I'm in Los Angeles, and I split my time usually between Chicago and Los Angeles. If I'm in Los Angeles, the first part of the day, you know, maybe devoted to a little tennis or sunshine, and then into the meetings, and then an evening of other meetings, if that's what's on the agenda, or running, you know, a new film or some games.
What do you enjoy eating for dinner?
Well, that depends.
Fried chicken, mashed potatoes and gravy.
Okay.
We'll never know.
You can relive it.
You particularly. The most fabulous present that he's ever given me was a Tiffany lamp that was the dragon design with the, well, if you know anything about Tiffany's, it has a ragged edge of dragonflies' heads
No, I know it.
hanging around the bottom. It's just exquisite. He's also given me a car. But,
What kind?
BMW. A long time ago he gave me a Maserati, but it was a lemon.
Even
Just the
Maserati.
same, it was a
Even
lemon.
Maseratis can be lemons.
But the BMW, I just love. It's just, I love it. It's got velour seats, and it's just terribly, terribly elegant. That was the latest present.
In turn, what's the most fabulous thing she's ever given you?
For love.
But how about that book? I think that's the favorite book, you know, the favorite present that I ever
Yes,
got.
that was very nice. Yeah. She gave me.
Do you know-
Probably the nicest gift she ever gave me was something for her. I guess that was anniversary a year ago.
Last
but,
year.
Yeah, she found an old turn of the century album and had it recovered, and then had pictures of our relationship the first 5 years done up in the old
Sepia
tinted
tone.
sepia tone, like the
Yes,
old fashioned
yes.
pictures.
Antique
And it became a
picture.
lovely album of our relationship.
Little holes for the pictures.
You were saying that Hef's favorite food was fried chicken. You ever make it for him yourself?
No, I don't. I don't particularly like to cook for him because the kinds of foods that he likes are the kinds that take hours to cook, but you don't really have to work that hard with them. I mean, fried chicken, you just kind of put in the batter and fry it. But what I do is when I find something that he likes, I do teach the cooks how to do it so that they can make it for him. But as far as, well, like he likes pot roast and pork chop sandwiches. You know, it's
Well,
things that are
Midwestern
very
American.
easy.
See, my folks are farm people from Nebraska, and you know, one acquires the tastes very much related to the kind of childhood that you. So I'm a meat and potatoes man.
Do you have any interest at all in organic food and the using little pesticides and sprays on the things that you eat?
No.
How did you two meet?
I was doing a syndicated TV show, Playboy After Dark, 1958, and BARBI had just come down from Sacramento.
1958, 68.
68.
Right,
I said 58, 68. 58, that was Playboy's Penthouse.
You were really
Another
robbing
syndicated
the
TV
paper
show.
if it was 58.
And she was just down from Sacramento going to school at UCLA and doing some modeling on the side. And she was one of the girls on the show, and we met on the set of the show.
Was it instant love and romance?
It was pretty quick. I was very taken by her when I first met her, and asked her to join a group. I already had a date for that evening, but I didn't want to let her get away, so I invited her to join the group. And thereafter we started dating. It took a little while for her to make sure that she wanted to get serious with a guy who was quite a few years older than she was. But it had a happy ending.
Although very beautiful in all of your pictures, I must say that you are infinitely more beautiful in person, and that your real beauty must be captured. And people must go to see you. Really, it's the truth.
Nobody's talking to me.
You too.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite pipe?
They're all the same. I haven't made up special by Dunhill. It's a special pipe that is a combination bowl of one pipe with a stem that's not quite so flared.
And
You have to light it every 10 minutes. No, you really 5, yeah.
Do you remember when you first put pipe to mouth?
I remember roughly when it was. It was sometime in the late 50s. Yeah, it was around 58, I think.
Is there a move towards more graphic covers of magazines, Playboy?
How do you mean more graphic covers?
Less pictorial and more drawn.
No, if you look through the 20-plus years of Playboy's history, you'll find that there is a variety of graphic techniques, collages, and artwork, etc., in combination with photography. Has really been the rule with the magazine over the years. So
Curas are never shown on the cover.
nipples are sometimes, and the extent of exposure inside the magazine and on the cover is really dictated by society's changing mores and what's acceptable. And, there are really no problems in terms of even frontal nudity on the covers of publications in Europe. The same thing isn't true here in America. If we had complete frontal nudity on the magazine, there would be a great many outlets, particularly supermarkets and drugstores, that we wouldn't be able to be sold at.
Are you concerned with society's changing mores or your changing mores and what you feel society should be moving towards?
I'm concerned with both. I think there's a certain responsibility when you're publishing a magazine that has a circulation of 6.5 million. And very obviously, the magazine has continually both reflected and also influenced the changes in social and moral values, and I think it's a good thing.
What would your ideal day consist of if there could be even more than 24 hours in the day? What would the ideal day encompass for you?
Well, it wouldn't be the same. I don't think there is an ideal day. It depends on, what kind of mood you're in and what you want to do.
A little volleyball, a little backgammon.
A lot of lying around in bed. And mostly, it's probably my ideal day would be spent in bed, I think.
How many hours of the day do you and Barbie stay together?
Well, it depends. I mean, if she's she's working now, so she's away about half the time. We're together most of the time when
I'm in Los Angeles and you're in Los Angeles, we're together all day.
Yeah, unless there's something that one
I don't go out when we're together, when he's in town, unless I absolutely have to.
She may have something she has to do, a business appointment or something.
I don't make a point of going out to lunch with my girlfriends when Hef is in town.
Are you jealous when you're separated? What's he doing? All those girls trying to take my place, and do you think about things like that?
I feel very secure in the relationship.
She is, I think, as a matter of fact, the most secure girl that I probably have ever cared about, and I think that's one of the reasons that I care as much for her as I do. She's very together, and I like that.
What about you? Are you ever jealous? Oh, she's out there performing in front of all those people, and
No, not in that. I'm getting a great deal of pleasure and satisfaction out of her career, and she's a very straight lady, so she doesn't give me any undue cause for concern.
Do you believe in reincarnation?
No.
Do you believe in God?
No. Not the God we invented, I don't know.
Do you believe in some sort of any kind of superpower or destiny or fate, or is it all just what we make it?
Well, I think it's largely what we make it, but obviously there's a good deal more to our existence than that, and beyond a certain point, a person would be a fool to suggest that he really knows the answers, and I don't. In other words, I don't think, I have no idea what we're doing here. But we're here, and that wasn't just man's invention. I mean, there's something beyond all this, and whether it has a purpose or a point or a grander plan, I don't know. No one knows. Those that pretend to know strike me as being rather pompous.
Do you believe in ESP and...
Sure, certain aspects of it. I think I was very interested in parapsychology. Well, my major in college was psychology, and I was very interested in parapsychology and ESP and this kind of thing when I was a kid. But there's certain ESP that I don't think fit into the natural as we know it. In other words, I think precognition, the ability to tell the future, etc., is inconsistent with the fact that no one knows what's coming around the corner tomorrow. But if you're talking about, mental telepathy and some of the other aspects of ESP, who can tell? Quite possible.
Do you believe in UFOs?
That's an interesting question. I think there's that it's mathematically probable that we are certainly not the only life form in the entire universe. So there may indeed be other life, and there may be, and probably is, intelligent life someplace out there. So the possibility of visitations is certainly possible. I think that certainly the majority of UFO sightings are explained away other ways, however.
Would you like to go to the moon? I think it'll probably be possible. How do you feel about that trip?
I think it might be interesting.
BARBI, you want to go along for the ride?
I wouldn't go without her.
Sure.
Are there a lot of girls who you want to appear in the magazine that refuse?
There are some, sure.
Would you pay?
We still live in a time in which, nudity is semi-respectable. So, and in some quarters for that and other reasons, Playboy is in some quarters semi-respectable. So, some people are for us and some are against us.
There are a lot of girls, of course, who are models, indeed high fashion models. I know that Miss November, B.B. Buell, is almost sort of breaking down certain barriers by saying, I can appear nude in Playboy magazine, and yet I can appear on the cover of Vogue, and the advertisers and the clients shouldn't be concerned at all. Do you think that it's a positive or negative a factor in the high models or actresses' life to appear in Playboy magazine?
Well, I think it's positive. I also think that Playboy has had a dramatic effect upon the attitudes towards the female body in women's magazines, and that's not generally recognized. When I started publishing Playboy, and for about the first 10 years, Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and the rest were really hung up in a very anti-sexual attitude towards the female body. There were no nudes in the magazine in either ads or editorially. I remember in the 50s that even young girls thought it was improper to go out on a special evening without wearing a girdle, because the human body wasn't supposed to wiggle. That was crude and tasteless, and I think that's a sick and foolish attitude. The women's magazines fought the bikini in America for about 10 years. There was about a 10-year delay between the acceptance of the bikini in Europe and its acceptance in America. And the women's magazines had a lot to do with that. And so I'm more than a little pleased by the fact that we won that as well as a lot of other battles.
BARBI, what are you wearing on the beach this year?
A bikini?
The string?
No, I don't know. I mean, I just wear a very thin material. I think the smaller that the bikini is, the more flattering. I don't particularly care for the straight across look because I don't think it is terribly flattering. But I think that the style that's been in for the last 4 or 5 years with thin materials is very attractive on girls. And I think most men agree with that.
I like the very natural look in women's clothing that they're affecting now. I'm
really glad they got out of that built-in bra in the two-piece. That was just the worst. And now it's fine if the nipple peeks through, as long as, if the color doesn't come through. I think it's nice if, you can just notice a little bit of, you like that too.
I like that too.
Do you like it when she wears a see-through blouse out in public?
Yeah, though I went through a little period, quite frankly, where...
Went through? You still don't like it?
Sure I do. Yeah, doesn't bother me,
Does it?
Yeah. You'll have to check out some of these TV interviews and stuff. Yes. Really yet? Just put down there. Thank you.
Now, wait a second.
In other words, I like sexy fashions, but there was a period, and I admit it, when I had mixed emotions about some of the sexy fashions she was wearing. Matter of fact, I remember that we came to New York to see the original Muhammad Ali Joe Frazier fight, and she wore the hot pants were in then. She wore a very cute hot pants outfit with a very see-through blouse and suspenders on the hot pants. And I was very concerned that the suspenders stayed in the right place.
So concerned that you kept replacing it yourself, or?
Oh, you'd still be concerned. Now, just the other day, when I left
At any rate,
New
you've
York,
confirmed that she thinks I was to be concerned.
when I came to New York, I was wearing an old scarf made into a blouse.
Yeah.
And you felt that it was much too severe.
Was I going with you?
No?
Aha.
If I'm not with you.
A little different. Sure.
I'm putting on the beach this summer.
Well, neither of us are going to be on the beach this summer. We're going to be around our pool at Playboy Mansion West. A bathing suit.
And is the bathing suit that you wear?
Well, actually, it's a Gatsby-ish bathing suit. It's it's a sort of a, it's a two-piece.
It's not a bikini. It's
No,
not a bikini.
no. To be frank, I don't really, I don't find the male bikini that attractive.
Thank God.
Not on a guy in the middle 40s anyway.
How do you feel about other magazines? You read other magazines, respect magazines? I've read other magazines.
Oh, Newsweek, I cover a cover every week. Esquire. Those are probably big.
Lately, we've witnessed the astronomical increase in the price of Newsweek and Time magazine, 60 cents, 75 cents. Will Playboy be taking that same trip?
Playboy just took that step a couple of months ago to $1.25, and I'm afraid that that move has been dictated by a dramatic increase in just the last year. A lot of people probably aren't aware of the really dramatic increase that's taken place, both in the production costs and also the increased cost in staggering.
Just don't cut down the number of pages.
No,
We pay another quarter.
Well, it seems to be, there's been no drop at all in circulation, we're happy to report. And there is Playboy has many years, the highest ratio of editorial content advertising of any major magazine. And we plan on keeping it that way.
Would you pay $1 million for a nude?
I can't think of anybody offhand that I would pay $1 million for. No.
No?
Not that much. Not that valuable.
Are there any famous people or socialites you'd like to see naked in the magazine?
Hundreds, probably. All together.
Who most would you like to see nude?
Right now, here?
No, in terms of the world.
Well, I think that the direct correlation between that and whatever the general public would like to see nude. The current sex symbols kind of come and go. I think we're kind of Carl Welsh, I guess, is still the lady that most men would like to see. Maybe Robert Redford for the girls.
Will you be printing male nudes in Playboy at some point?
Yes.
Together, Raquel Welch and
Robert Redford, that'd be very nice.
Sounds like a very good idea. Do you think in terms of what the public would like to see, or what in terms you'd like to see, and then assume that the public would like to see what you'd like to see?
Well, I edit the magazine for myself, and there is a high correlation, and has been over the years, of for example, with the playmates of the girls that I thought were most attractive and the ones that the readers reacted to. But, it's a combination both of projecting my own particular interests and also part of editing a magazine, obviously, is to try and not make it too personal. You have to keep in tune with your audience.
Are there orgies at the Chicago mansion?
I don't know. I haven't been there in a few weeks.
Do things happen when you're away?
I hope so.
What really happened when the Rolling Stones visited?
It was wonderful.
What was the highlight? It was there. I heard it got pretty wild, pretty rough, pretty raucous.
Well, never got out of hand. We had a good time. We wound up in the Roman bath one evening. That was a lot of fun. And one evening the last evening they were there, they did a little show for us. That was good. A musical show.
Okay. How do you feel about your treatment in the press? Has there been anything they've continuously ignored or...
Well, I think that to some extent there has been a certain amount of understandable jealousy, I think, because I am not part of the New York Eastern establishment. And I think that we have fared less well. And as a matter of fact, I know in some instances have lost some major magazine stories because the reporters that came and did the research and wrote the original stories were too favorably impressed, so that their editors back in New York killed the stories. But by and large, I think the press, considering the fact that Playboy's success is so rooted in things that have been traditionally controversial in our society, I think we've fared pretty well.
I'm very impressed and very envious, but I find it only spurs me on, and sort of like it's an ideal that one works to. It's
That's a good, healthy attitude.
Why don't you move to New York City?
Because I found a better place.
How do you feel about sexual toys, dildos, ticklers, body rubs?
Whatever turns you on.
Do you have any fetishes yourself?
The human body turns me on quite a bit. But no real fetishes that are worthy of the name.
Is sex wide open in your personal life?
Yeah, pretty wide open. I'm, a boy's father of the man, so to some degree I'm influenced obviously by my own upbringing, but with that as a obvious consideration, I think I'm relatively unhung up.
Are there any plans for a Hugh Hefner Jr. to take over the empire?
Well, I have a son and daughter, but no
That's
plan.
moving into position?
No, not in terms of taking over the empire, no. Eventually, the majority of the stock is going to be turned over to the Playboy Foundation, which will be working for the various social ends and working some of the social problems that we're working with now and that are not so popular in some other quarters and don't get monies from some of the other foundations.
Such as?
Such as some of our sexual hang-ups, our problems in terms of drug abuse, racial problems related to prison reform, some of the things that are not so popular.
Would you like to have Hef's child?
Sure.
Right now? Here?
I don't think either of us are ready for children right now, though. I'd say that I would like to have kids before I'm approximately 30, because chances of having kids go down after 30. But if I was going to have anybody's child, I would say that his would be the perfect child to have.
I certainly hope so.
Would you be interested in having more children?
Yes, I think so.
Do you miss your TV show, and what happened to it?
No, because I did it for a specific reason, and it took a lot of time. And it was really a first step towards getting me out of the Chicago house, getting myself back into shape, and first step towards getting into TV and film production. We are now very much involved in both, but I'm really better at the behind-the-scenes thing than as a performer. Like the fact that it doesn't take as much time.
Some time ago, we still causing quite a scandal by displaying nudity and profanity and sex on television in good taste and humor and so forth and so on. How do you feel about that?
I think that in a supposedly free society, we ought to get over our sexual hang-on, the free expression of sexual views and values and images. I've always felt that it says something very sad about our society, that our notion of it is related to acts of love rather than acts of hate and violence and killing.
Then you approve of opening up television?
This is one of the best interviews that you don't usually get the interview on TV.
Did you get that? And how many more minutes do I have? 5 minutes. Okay. We'll give you a few seconds to light your pipe.
All right.
Barbie, you don't light the pipe for him?
No.
My girlfriend on my head.
Do you light her sets?
I
Doesn't smoke.
Do you open doors for?
Well, he certainly does. Car doors, just about it. He had brought up to be a gentleman.
Of course, I think it's well.
Cat.
I can see that and tell. Really,
He is classy.
when I'm lost for words, it's because I'm distracted a little bit over there. But can you tell me this? I know that you've been fighting very hard for the legalization of marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about the fight and the direction you're going into.
Well, we are the primary source of funding for NORML. It's a group in America that is decreasing the use of marijuana, and it was not something very simple. I'm opposed to all most crimes. I think that attempt out some of the social problems in society that might better be solved by medical and psychological means. Trying to solve them all with courts and an and cop on the beat is it's just an error. And I think we're going through the same kind of thing we went through with prohibition. It's more serious than that, because of the period of prohibition, all was kind of a joke to the great American public. you have with marijuana really something that is splitting society. I mean, it's almost as much of a causing as much of a schism Vietnam we're used to, and as for a while long hair used to. It's turned into a kind of thing where you've got the young people on one side of the thing, and the older people on the other side. And unfortunately, the older are the people that want the judges, and so you want a lot of young people being thrown in prison for things that majority today. And I think it's very sad, very consistent with the concept of a free democratic society.
I think we're witnessing more of a constant transition, old and young, as far as I think that marijuana is no longer indulged by just the young, and in fact, Timothy Leary could hardly be called young, and he's...
atypical, however, Timothy. No, I think that's true. I think that we're moving into a period where, where it will no longer be illegal. I'm sure that we're going to reach a point eventually where the use of marijuana will not be a crime. How can it continue to be? It's not as harmful as either alcohol or tobacco.
That's it. You heard it from Hugh Hefner. How do you feel about your own personal use of marijuana?
Well, I'm not going to sit here and discuss anything I might do that's the law, but it isn't my own. As I said, my feeling about it is really the same as my attitude towards prohibition. And I'm not a serious drinker. I'm a light social drinker. In other words, my views on these various problems are a little more abstract than personal use.
What do you like to drink?
I'm usually a Jack Daniels man.
BARBI?
Oh, I like anything sweet. I don't like hard liquor, but I think I invented a strawberry daiquiri about 6 years ago that is still my favorite. It's a frozen strawberry daiquiri. I also make peach daiquiris and any kind of fruit that just happens to be around the house. It tastes good.
Could you give us that BARBI BENTON recipe?
What, for strawberry daiquiri? I use crushed ice. Like it a little stronger, you add a little more rum. But you also have to add a little more ice because the rum melts the ice. And I like it very, very thick, and by the time I get finished with it, I like it to be the consistency of a milkshake and with the flavor of a strawberry milkshake with a little juice in it, It's really delicious, really.
It's become very popular with a number of our friends.
Yeah, I've made it a standard so that anytime anybody wants one at the house, it's probably the most sought-after drink by the women. But I also like things like Bloody Marys and screwdrivers, but I don't like straight martinis or anything like that. I have fire and taste for scotch, but I only do it just to be drinking scotch if that's the only thing that has to be available. But I really don't like the taste of liquor that much unless it's something really good like rum that tastes good.
How do you feel about drugs?
About drugs, the same view, at least grass as has. I don't think that hard drugs are good, and I don't think that they should be legalized, but I think that marijuana is completely harmless, or almost completely harmless, and give it enough research. But I think that it's certainly not a...
That's for why we keep it a legal establishment, that eventually make it as harmful.
Yeah.
Really a fascinating notion. Well, eventually it may all fall apart in some... The legislators are not very good at coming through aggressive laws that any part of their constituency is opposed to. So it may turn out to be the same kind of thing happened to the laws. Of course, common sexual practices that are engaged in by the majority of adult people are still felonies in most states in the Union. The legislators have only gotten around to decriminalizing a lot of this activity just here. But for all practical purposes, they exist no longer in reality. I think this will occur with marijuana, maybe where the courts will say cruel and that it's unconstitutional. It becomes cruel and improper penalties to send to prison for something that literally doesn't hurt them.
Couldn't agree more.
Beyond in terms of more serious drugs, and I think that more serious drugs are a serious problem. But I don't think we take a single step closer to the solution of that problem, going to people using the drugs into prison. Like you cannot solve every social problem with. There are some problems that are, of a social and medical nature that help in a social and medical way.
I think if more wise and responsible members of the community like it would take us, but not only privately but publicly, we'd find a faster route to some.
I agree with that. That my own public position on it has been his position on it has been made public, and indeed had a fundraising for at the house on the West Coast that I think got some publicity here just last weekend.
Any word at all the work of SAS?
Not by name, no.
I don't think that they should be legalized, but I think that marijuana is completely harmless, or almost completely harmless. They haven't given it enough research, but I think that it's certainly not as harmful as...
It's a fascinating attitude for why we keep it illegal, incidentally, the notion that eventually we may find that it's harmful.
Yeah.
Really a fascinating notion. Meanwhile, we advertise and promote that, that destroy your liver and cause cancer and heart disease and all kinds of things. It's bizarre.
What kind of a timetable do you think we're going to be on for the legalization of marijuana?
Well, eventually it may all fall apart in court. The legislators are not very good at coming through with progressive laws to any part of their constituency is opposed to. So it may turn out to be the same kind of thing as happened to the sex laws, whereas common sexual practices that are engaged in by the majority of adult people are still felonies in most states in the Union. Legislators have only gone to decriminalizing a lot of this activity in just 3 or 4 states, but for all practical, they exist on the books, but they no longer exist in reality. I think the same thing may occur with marijuana. We may reach the point where the courts will say that it's cruel, that it's unconstitutional, that it becomes cruel and improper penalty send people to prison for something that literally doesn't hurt them.
Couldn't agree more.
Beyond that, of course, you have the additional problem in terms of more serious drugs, and I think that more serious drugs are a serious problem in society. But I don't think we take a single step closer to the solution to that problem by throwing the people who are using the drugs into prison. In other words, I think you cannot solve every social problem in society with the police. There are some problems that are, of a social and medical nature that have to be solved in a social and medical way.
I think if more wise and responsible members of the community like your sickest position, not only privately but publicly, we'd find a faster route to some.
I agree with that. That's why my own public position on it has been, made public, and why indeed, we just had a fundraising for NORML at the house on the West Coast that I think got some publicity here just last weekend.
Any word at all the work of Phoenix House?
Not by name, no.
Phoenix House is a self-help program for drug addicts in New York, and it's a fabulous program that's all over the country, especially here in New York, that's supported by a lot of thinking people.
I wouldn't be surprised to find that, although I'm personally familiar with the work they're doing, they were probably involved in helping to fund them.
Did you actually visualize at one time in the past your present circumstances?
No. When I started the magazine, all I wanted to do was edit a magazine that I could personally identify with, and I had no idea at all what was coming.
Do you think it's more difficult now to start a magazine than it was then?
No. I think the general notion that the period of opportunity in America is largely behind us is untrue. I think that there are great opportunities for people in a wide spectrum of areas of endeavor to make it very big if they come up with the right idea and work at it.
Well, what's the future holding for you? I mean, you must have all sorts of ideas and constant new goals. And what are you thinking about? What do you want to happen next?
Well, I've gone through kind of a transitional period. The first 10 or 15 years of my life, of my 20 years with Playboy, were really devoted to building the magazine and the company, and getting a tremendous pleasure and satisfaction out of that. It has been a little more difficult for me to readjust to enjoying some of what I've built, and I've really been, spending a certain amount of time in more recent years to that, and I take a lot of pride and pleasure in being able to have accomplished that as well. Because it's one thing to do it; it's another thing to be able to get satisfaction out of what you've accomplished, and get real pleasure out of that. And I'm doing that now.
What kind of clothes do you personally like to wear?
Casual. Around the house, as often as not, I'm wearing pajamas. Casual shirt and pants, things. I like very much the fact that The necktie is no longer required.
Give respect to
I
you.
think that's very classy, and I don't want to show any disrespect by the fact that I didn't.
Not at all.
Very casual.
Is there any kind of favorite fabric? Do you prefer silk or cashmere or...
Anything very soft and
Comfortable.
loose and comfortable, yeah.
Barbie, what about you? What kind of favorite fabrics do you have?
I think I tend to go with chiffons, but in recent years I've gotten very funky with my material. I mean, this is probably an old curtain, but it's made in France by a very well-known designer named Vicky Teal, and I think that I tend to go with more of a style rather than a material. And nothing itches me. Like Hef doesn't like to wear wool without something under it, but I don't get itchy by things. So I don't think that the material is that important, but I do like soft flowing
Rubber goods, leather.
Chainmail.
Yes.
I like feminine materials.
Goes with the whips.
You know, flowers.
Oh, you think that's good, John? You should hear some of the earlier part.
What kind of direction do you find your career taking? You've decided to be, you are a singer. You intend to take it all the way to the top?
I'll take it as far as it will take me. If I find that nobody is watching me anymore, then I may as well forget the whole thing. But as long as people will continue to come to my shows, and as long as my show is growing, I think I'll just stay with what I've got. I'm doing country pop, and even though people aren't that big on country music in New York, I find that everybody enjoys the show, and they walk out not feeling disappointed, I think. A lot of people come to see me not knowing that I even sing. You know,
Curiosity thing.
yeah, I think I am a curiosity factor, and I would like to be recognized as a singer because I did work very hard to become a singer.
She does a very good show.
Thanks.
Well, you too.
Waylon Jennings was the first, I think, to make me interested in country rock, and I'm sure that you're going to be the first to make me interested in country pop. So I'm looking forward to catching the show at the Playboy Club, and whenever you come to town, which I hope you do more often. Do you find that it all has been a detriment, or do you resent at all the fact that people come to look at you as a curiosity, the fact that you're Hugh Hefner's girlfriend?
No, I don't resent it at all. I think that one thing that I owe to Playboy and to Hef is the fact that I was able to bypass the first part of my career. It is very unnormal for a person to be able to go into Las Vegas and work a large showroom on their second time out. I had only worked for 2 weeks when I played Las Vegas, and that I couldn't have done, no way, no how, had I not had a name of some sort that they got on a marquee to draw people in. So I understand, I think that is a pro in my career in singing. I can't say that it helped me that much in acting because usually they ask me to do the nude parts. But in singing, I think that there's so much curiosity that brings people into the show. They aren't expecting anything, and then when they walk out, they feel like they've gotten their money's worth. So
Hugh's reaction is pleasant surprise, because I think that, there is the tendency to assume that maybe she's only up there because she is my girlfriend. The simple truth of the matter is she's a very talented lady and puts on a very good show. So both the general public that has seen her and also the critics have responded in that way. She's been getting very good reviews. She's only been working in the business now for really what amounts to about 6-8 months, and the reaction has been extremely good.
Do you give a lot of personal attention and advice towards her career? Are you taking a terribly active interest in maybe the songs she sings and the way she presents herself and what she wears and where she wears?
I'm involved and interested in it, but just to the extent that not in any kind of Svengali way, because she really did the thing on her own. When she started out and started talking seriously about singing professionally, I tried to discourage her because I really viewed her as a very talented actress, and she was going to be dissipating and kind of wasting her energies by going off in this other direction. And she proved me wrong. She just stuck at it with the lessons, and learned to play the guitar and put it together herself.
Do you play any musical instruments yourself?
Just the organ.
Oh, yeah. I don't know you.
Oh, okay.
I'll let silence pass here for a few moments.
What do you want, all straight lines?
Yes, here we are. Candid conversation with Hugh Hefner.
You started it, remember that.
going to finish it. I can tell by that as well. You travel a great deal. I know that was some years ago that I spotted the boat that you'd rented off the Greek islands, and of course the big black Playboy bunny is seen in many of the most exotic and erotic places of the world. And how do you feel? What part does travel play in your life?
Well, we do a certain amount of traveling, and I've been doing a little more traveling the last few months around the country because, you know, I visit BARBI when she's playing in the Hinterlands. We haven't taken a major trip in a couple of years. That's partly because I got the West Coast house about 3 years ago, and it is literally for us a Shangri-La. It is located in the heart of Los Angeles, about a block and a half from Sunset Boulevard. You would think you were in the middle of Europe or on some other planet somewhere. It's really so much a Shangri-La that rumor has it that when you leave the grounds, you start aging visibly. It's a very lovely, lovely place, and you know, the kind of spot, the kind of garden spot that you would travel the world to try to find. So we've been enjoying that recently. We have wild birds and animals walking the grounds, and it's really.
You work very closely with the landscape architects and the interior designers, and
I'm very graphically oriented.
Tell us what are some of your favorite features of your house.
Well, let's see. There's the jacuzzi. See my friend John over there is immediately lip-syncing me there on jacuzzi. We have a very remarkable backyard, a combination of waterfalls and a pool done in a very natural way, and a variety of fish and birds and monkeys and things there, and the center of the pool is a cave that you can swim into, either under a rock shelf in the deep end or walk through in a waterfall. And that cave includes a very romantic jacuzzi area that, for some reason, has proven to be the most popular area in the grounds. It's my favorite spot.
Have you named some of the animals on the grounds?
Oh, they all have names, sure.
Such as?
Well, we name everything with alliteration. The macaws are Merkin, Merlin, Macbeth, Marvin, named after my father. We also
Lambert is the llama.
Lambert is a llama, yeah. We have
It's tradition
dogs.
of Disney, Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse.
We have 2 dogs that are sheepdogs named Dog and Little Dog, also known as Papa Dog and Mama Dog. And,
Excuse me. I'm going to light your...
well, we've got crowned cranes running around the property and flamingos. Loads, well, we've got just about any kind of animal that is legal, and many that aren't.
I reckon one
We
name
have-
it fell.
Oh, yes. Oh, and the monkeys are darling.
Are there any possessions you don't yet possess that you're working on possessing or want to possess or dream to possess?
Kind of wild. Yeah, it was really a wild animal called BARBI. No, I don't. No, not really. No, but I don't think that much in terms of material things. You know, the material things. I used to think about money back when I was poor. You know, I don't think that money is very important, but you can only say that when you've got it. When you don't have it, it's very important. And you have to worry about where it's coming from next week. I mean, it's very important. Then you spend too much time thinking about money. The nice thing is in my life now that I will never have to think about money again. I don't have to worry about what it costs to buy something or what it costs to do whatever I'm doing.
Do you personally carry money, or is it taken care of by aides, checks?
Or my age.
Money never sees the inside of your pocket?
Very rarely.
Do you sign your own checks?
Some.
Do you ask the price of things when you go in to say Tiffany's or Cartier's or Henston? I mean, it can get a little crazy.
If I'm buying something a little crazy for my lady, then I ask the price. Otherwise, I don't. The things I buy for myself are crazy, so I don't have to ask the price. Just nice, quiet things like DC-9s.
I know that, when you went to Greece, you rented a boat. You just said you don't have a boat. Do you want a boat?
Not particularly. I don't swim.
How do you get into that waterfall?
I go in from the shallow end.
I hope you don't drown in your jacuzzi.
I do too. I hope that. I don't think there's much chance.
What's the last book that you read?
Forgot
Letty.
about it? Oh, Letty.
Letty.
And the last movie that you saw?
A lovely paean of praise to this city called Death Wish. Charles Bronson, we ran at the house 2 days ago.
You are, and of course, producing films yourself, and is there some project coming up, some film that we can look forward to?
Yes, our next film will be out in the early fall, called The Crazy World of Julius Bruder, starring Timothy Bottoms. It's going to be a very good film. And the next production after that, which begins, we'll start shooting in the fall, is Championship Season, which won
The play.
Won the Tony Award and Pulitzer Prize last year.
Is there any plan for BARBI to combine her acting and musical talents by appearing in one of the films?
We're looking for some suitable projects. Yeah, she's had a couple of small parts in some things we've done for television. And yes, I'd like to find something good for her.
How badly do you want to be a star, BARBI? A bigger star, a phenomenal superstar?
Well, I don't know if star is the word. I would like to feel that I've done something with 4 years of acting lessons. I went to acting lessons twice a week, and I had to memorize lines every day and learn how to do those things very well. And I feel that if I don't do any acting in my life, it won't have been wasted, because I do get to act on stage. I can encompass what I've learned in the acting lessons in my singing, and therefore I don't feel like it's been wasted. But I would like to do some serious roles and make use of some talent that might be there.
What about you? Would you appear in your films?
No, it's possible.
If you could play
through
yourself.
Sure. I continue to do that kind of thing every now and again in films and television. I mean, you know, asked by various people to do little parts.
Do you make home movies?
Sometimes.
I mean, videotape?
Yes. Yes. So I have quite an extensive film and tape collection.
What are some of your favorite home movies or tapes of?
Movies are very high on the list.
Horror movies, I understand.